Okay, we're going to take a look now at the introduction to representation of data, and we're going to start here in this video. We're going to take a look at what we talk about when we talk about statistics, some key concepts that we need to know before we get into everything else. So, first of all, welcome. My name is Timoteo, and I'm going to be doing a series of videos on how to presenting the A levels for mathematics. So, what do we talk about when we talk about statistics? Well, we talk about a science that emphasizes on systematizing, collecting, and presenting data relative to a phenomenon. That particular area is what we call descriptive statistics, and we want to find laws that can rule over a certain phenomena so that we can predict outcomes and take decisions. When we move to that area, we're talking about inferential statistics. And then finally, how do we go from descriptive statistics to inferential statistics? Well, through probability. That's like the a very broad concept on how probability and statistics relate to one another. The idea is that we're going to be working on how to obtain data, how to present data, and then we're going to focus on how we can analyze it and how we can acquire more skills regarding to it. Some keywords that I'm going to be using throughout the topic that we need to know. When we talk about a population, we're talking about the entire set of individuals that we are studying. So, for example, I can make a survey on what Uruguayan people think of a certain topic, or I can make a survey on what teenagers think of a certain topic. In this case, the population would be teenagers. Or I can study the length of certain trees, and in that case, my population would be trees. Population doesn't mean humans, it's just the term that we give to what we are studying. In general, because of normal limitations like time and money and things that we need to focus on, like we have restrictions, we cannot study the entire population, so we choose a sample. This sample can be chosen randomly or not, depending on the kind of subjects of study you want to do. And that is the subset of the population that we are actually investigating. Imagine that we have to take a survey on 3 million people. That's not going to happen. So we'll choose a certain subset of that population and we study actually that. What is it that we're studying? Well, what we're studying, we call it a variable. And that variable can be categorized into different categories. We have qualitative or categorical data, that is data that cannot be written like a number. For example, when we are comparing the hair color, or we are comparing, I don't know, the street, the neighborhood where they live, that information is something that we cannot turn into a number. While quantitative data is data that we can turn into a number. So, for example, we can have age, height, grade in high school, height of a tree if we're measuring trees. If we have anything that can be expressed as a number, it relates to a quantitative variable. Then within quantitative variables, we have discrete and continuous. We have discrete data that can only take certain values. For example, here in Uruguay, if we take an exam, our grade is going to be an integer number. It's going to be a 6 or a 7. You cannot get a 6.5. So from there, we can say, well, this is a discrete quantitative variable, quantitative because it is a number, and discrete because it cannot be a rational number. It's only a 6 or a 7. It's like an integer. And then we can have continuous data that can take intermediate values. For example, if I'm measuring a length, that length could be 20 centimeters or 21 centimeters, or it could be 20 centimeters and a half. That is something that we could find depending on how we're measuring it. I'm using the word virtually there because it's like you can go as deep as your measurement instrument allows you. It's like you could measure nanometers if your instrument gave you nanometers. not well. You will have to make the division somewhere, but we can make the distinction. And then finally, we're going to talk about frequency when we're going to count the number of occurrences. Imagine that, for example, I'm taking a survey on high school grades and I want to know how many students got a 5. Well, the number of students that got a 5 is the frequency of the number 5. So from there, we can start to introduce this topic. It's important to consider these words because these words are going to then help us to decide which is going to be the best method for representing data. The idea is, depending on which category of variable we're working with, we will have a different preferred method for representing data. So you're going to consider this when making decisions. Okay, when do I use which of the method? Well, that will depend on which kind of variable we're working with. So this is important to bear in mind.